What's up, guys? Are you tired of having to eat Thanksgiving dinner and smoke weed? Thanksgiving is a hectic holiday, and whether you're watching football or having drunken political discussions with your family, or eating 14 dinner rolls before your guests arrive, it is hard to find the time to get a little high. Don't worry, because I have the solution for you. Today we are going to be making a cannabis-infused Thanksgiving dinner with all the feasts. So stay tuned. This is Danksgiving. So we're gonna kick things off by doing our cannabis infusion. So here I have 3.5 grams of kind of mid-range bud. When it's all said and done, this should yield about 10 milligrams of THC per serving, but feel free to adjust the amount based on your tolerance level. We're gonna chop up our cannabis, put it in an oven-safe dish, cover it with tin foil, and put it in the oven at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. In the meantime, we're gonna melt an entire stick of butter into a mason jar. Once the cannabis has been decarboxylated, go ahead and shovel it into the mason jar. Close the mason jar and take it over to the stove. We're gonna put it into a pot of boiling water for about 2 hours. This is great for reducing the amount of smell during this process, and this is gonna give it time to infuse into our butter. Our butter has been fully infused, and we're gonna go ahead and strain it through a cheesecloth. Then go ahead and put it in a butter dish for easy distribution and put it in the refrigerator to set up. Now it's time to get cracking on the centerpiece of every Thanksgiving dinner table, the turkey. Now normally when I'm cooking turkey, I would do a dry brine. However, that doesn't leave much room for doing an infusion. And do you guys actually think I would serve uninfused turkey on Thanksgiving? Come on. So instead, we're gonna be doing an injection. This is gonna allow us to shoot our infused oil along with a lot of delicious flavor directly into the bird. So to make our injection, we're gonna start off by adding 2 liters of water to a pot. Then go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 8 small cubes of chicken bouillon. If you're using the larger cubes, just go ahead and use 2 of them. We're gonna add half of a white onion, 2 bay leaves, a lemon cut in half a stick of regular butter. Now we're gonna take our infused can of butter out of the fridge, and we're gonna add half a stick of our infused can of butter. And to finish it off, we're gonna add a little bit of that holiday spice that makes everything nice. We're gonna put in 150 milliliters of Fireball. We're gonna take this over to the stove and reduce it. We're gonna boil it under medium-high heat for about 20 to 30 minutes or until the solution reduces by half. That's gonna make sure that all those flavors get released and are gonna end up making it into the injection and therefore into our turkey. So go ahead and strain out all the large bits, and we're gonna let the injection cool to room temperature. Our turkey's fully defrosted, but before we move ahead, we're gonna wanna go ahead and remove the turkey's penis from the back part. And I gotta say, this particular turkey had an absolute cannon. Now there's a lot of good flavor in here, so what we're gonna do is just drop it into a pot of water. Then we're gonna add the gizzards that you can find in the front of the turkey usually. We're gonna combine that with a mirepoix, which consists of onions, carrots, and celery. We're then just gonna leave it on the heat and just kind of let it reduce down throughout the day. All right, our turkey is nice and cleaned out, and it's injection time. So go ahead and use your turkey injector to take out the solution. A pro tip, keep in mind that the butter and therefore all of our THC is usually gonna be kind of towards the top. So just keep the tip of the injector towards the top while you're sucking it in, and that should kind of ensure an even distribution throughout the turkey. So just go ahead and slide it in, and we're gonna inject our cannabis. Oh no. Well, hopefully this video doesn't get taken down. I can just see it now. He's teaching people how to inject marijuana. As you can see, I'm trying to attack the meaty parts without actually piercing the skin of the turkey. We really want to do our best to keep the skin intact, because that's going to help us lock in all those juices, which means more flavor, and in this case, more THC. Now that we've used all of our injection, it's time to assemble our dry rub. So we're going to add half a cup of salt, a quarter cup of sugar, a quarter cup of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, a quarter cup of paprika powder, 1 tablespoon white pepper, 1 tablespoon thyme, and 1 tablespoon nutmeg. Stir to combine, then we're gonna rub our turkey down with some olive oil. Not only is this gonna help the skin get crispy during the cooking process, but it's also gonna help our dry rub stick to the turkey. Go ahead and liberally apply the dry rub all over the turkey. Keep rubbing your bird until the entire carcass is covered with our dry rub. A lot of people like to add the stuffing to the inside of the turkey, and while this does make for a good stuffing, it does not make for good turkey because it's going to dry it out. Just go ahead and slice up some lemons and oranges. That's going to ensure that the turkey stays moist during the cooking process. Another tip is to tuck the legs into this back little piece of skin. I hate to use the word moist more than I have to, but that's really what we're going here for, guys. The same can also be done with the wings. Our infused turkey is now ready to be cooked, so if we were going to throw it in an oven, we would set it to 350 and cook it for about 20 minutes per pound. But guys, it's Danksgiving. We're going to be smoking out, and guess what? Our turkey's going to be smoking out too. We're going to be cooking this bad boy on the Kamado Joe. We're going to actually be smoking it, so we're going to cook this anywhere from like 6 to 9 hours at 225 degrees Fahrenheit. So we got our charcoal going, and I've added some pieces of pecan wood for smoke. When smoking, you really want to be careful with what type of wood you use. You don't want to use anything really strong like mesquite or hickory because it's going to overpower the flavor of the turkey. So we've set up our Kamado Joe with the heat deflectors, both heat deflectors on the bottom, and then we have basically some drip pans to just catch the drippings off the turkey. So it's nice and preheated now, and we're going to go ahead and throw the turkey on, and hopefully we'll come back in the morning and should be ready to go. We can go ahead and stick a temperature probe on the inside, and I have a little alarm that's going to go off as soon as it reaches an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit. In the meantime, let's get started on our sides. No Thanksgiving would be complete without stuffing. Now, stuffing is one of those foods that you eat at Thanksgiving and you're like, wow, like, why don't I eat this all year? And then usually about 5 days later, after you've gone through all the leftovers in your fridge, you definitely don't want to eat stuffing for another year. So we're going to be making a great recipe. This is a cornbread stuffing. We're actually going to be making our own cornbread here in the cast iron pan. So we're going to preheat our oven to 400 degrees and throw the pan inside. Into a bowl, we're going to mix our dry ingredients, which include 2 cups of yellow cornmeal, 1 cup of white flour, 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Use a whisk to combine the ingredients and make sure that all the clumps are eliminated. Then we're going to mix our wet ingredients, which includes 4 eggs, beat them up, add 2 cups of buttermilk, 1 cup of regular milk, and 2 tablespoons of honey. Mix that up to combine. Then we're going to go ahead and slowly add our dry ingredients. Be sure to not do this all at once because that's just going to make everything clump up. Just kind of slowly add the dry ingredients as you continue to stir into the bowl. We're going to pull our now piping hot pan out of the oven, and to it we're going to add 3 tablespoons of regular butter. Quickly swish the butter around in the pan to make sure that it covers everything, and then immediately we're going to pour in our batter. We're going to transfer back into the 400 degree oven for about 45 minutes or so, and at that point we have a nice, beautiful cornbread. Now, a lot of the cornbread that I made in the past is kind of really sweet and doesn't really work that well in stuffing. This is a nice grainy, kind of like savory texture. So let's go get the rest going. So into a cast iron pan, we're gonna go ahead and melt some oil. Then we're gonna add a large diced white onion. Kind of let that cook down a little bit and soften. And at that point, we're gonna go ahead and add 3 stalks of chopped celery. Do the same thing, kind of let it release for about 3 to 5 minutes, add some salt and pepper, and reduce a little bit more. At that point, we're gonna add some crushed garlic, and only cook that for about a minute or so because we don't want to burn the garlic. Now at this point, we're gonna be adding some herbs. Now the really nice thing when you're cooking with cannabis is to utilize a lot of these fresh herbs. A lot of people, and myself included, kind of try to mask the smell and the taste of cannabis when cooking with like peanut butter and chocolate and other rich flavors. But using fresh herbs can be a delicious way to help the cannabis accentuate the flavor. So go ahead and chop up some thyme and sage and add it to the hot cast iron pan. Then we're gonna take our cornbread that's cooled down and kind of massage it with your hands, and we're just gonna break it into kind of little chunks. Add the vegetables to the cornbread, and then sprinkle whole milk over the top to moisten. Combine a 1/4 stick of our can of butter with a 1/4 stick of regular butter and melt it in the microwave. Then we're going to take a 3-quart baking dish and use half of the butter mixture to line the bottom of the dish. Add the stuffing to the baking dish, and then go ahead and sprinkle the remaining butter evenly to the top of the stuffing. Then we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven at 350 degrees. 30 minutes later, you'll have a stuffing fit for a royal feast. I gotta say, you can definitely taste the cannabis in this, but it works in conjunction with those fresh herbs to create a beautiful depth of flavor. Now on to the next Thanksgiving staple, mashed potatoes. So soaking in a pot of water, I have 4 large russet potatoes. I'm gonna go ahead and peel the skin off. You don't have to take the skin off, but we're gonna end up running these through a sieve to make sure that they're really creamy, so we are gonna have to de-skin these ones. Chop them up and catch any loose stragglers, and go ahead and pop them back into the water to keep the outside from oxidizing. Now, you could boil these, but we're actually gonna be kicking it up a notch and using our sous vide. So we're gonna fill a plastic bag with our potatoes, and then we're gonna add the remaining quarter stick of our can of butter. Then we're gonna add another full stick of regular butter and an entire cup of heavy cream. Ooh, look at that. We're gonna mix it all up really nice. Now, if you had a vacuum sealer, this would be a great use for it, but over the years, I've developed a strange talent of being able to seal Ziploc bags. So just go ahead and do that. Make sure it is nice and tight. And then we're gonna set our sous vide to 193 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're gonna drop our sealed bag on the inside. Now, to keep that temperature, you might need to cover it like I did. 30 to 40 minutes later, the potatoes should be done. Go ahead and squeeze them and they should break apart pretty easily. You can strain them through a sieve and then using a spatula, push the potatoes through the sieve to create a nice creamy texture. This is pretty labor intensive, but it is well worth it in the end. Lightly stir the mixture to combine while being sure to not overstir and build up too much gluten, which leads to a sticky mashed potato. Go ahead and fill them into a bowl and they are ready. Cannabis infused mashed potatoes. Now let's start assembling our cranberry sauce. So into a medium saucepan, we're gonna add half a cup of fresh squeezed orange juice, 1 whole packet of cranberries, and half a cup of sugar. Stir to combine and let it simmer for about like 15 minutes or so. For an optional step, you can add some orange liqueur. So I'm gonna add about an ounce of Grand Marnier. Another thing that we're missing with this Thanksgiving meal is terpenes. So we got a lot of THC from the butter infusion, but one thing we don't have is any of the terpenes, and that really affects the overall experience in my opinion. So I'm gonna add just a couple drops of these sour diesel terpenes, and that's really gonna accentuate the flavor of this cranberry sauce, and also hopefully give a nice entourage effect to this infused meal. So by the looks of it, our cranberry sauce is nice and set up and just in time because our alarm has gone off and our turkey is ready. It's been about 9 hours and look at this thing. Just absolutely beautiful. Brown skin all the way across. Like I said, it took 9 hours, so if you're gonna do it this way, if you're gonna smoke it, be sure to start early or do what I did and just kind of start at like midnight and then have it ready in the morning. So our turkey is all done. We're gonna let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes just to make sure all those juices get nice and settled. So in the meantime, we're gonna start on our gravy. Remember that turkey stock we were working on? Well, it should be nice and reduced by now and ready to go. We're then gonna take the drippings from the pans that were under the turkey and the barbecue, add them to the pot, then we're gonna add our turkey stock. In the meantime, we're going to take the mason jar that we used earlier, put a cup of water in it, and then add 3 tablespoons of flour. Mix it up and add the slurry to the pot. This is a really handy trick for adding the flour because it keeps the flour from clumping and it's gonna make sure that the gravy has a nice uniform consistency. So let the gravy kind of reduce down for maybe like 15 or 20 minutes or so, and at that point it should be ready to go. The final piece of our Thanksgiving feast is now ready to go and it's time to slice the turkey. Oh, look at this. I mean, look at these juices just coming out of here. Just absolutely beautiful. And now comes the moment of truth, the taste test. And I'm excited. Oh my. Let me tell you, you can actually taste the cannabis in here a little bit, but the way that it interacts with the other spices and flavors is just absolutely amazing. It totally takes that flavor and elevates it to the next level. So we've got cannabis infused turkey, cannabis infused stuffing, cannabis infused mashed potatoes, cranberry diesel sauce, even the gravy is infused. And I gotta say, all this was absolutely delicious and got me and my guests ripped. And to answer your question, I tried some of the turkey by itself the next day and got ripped again. So yes, the actual turkey does contain a good amount of active THC. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and if you enjoyed the video, I would be thankful if you hit that like button or thought about subscribing if you haven't already. If you'd like to make a delicious infused peanut butter pie with your Danksgiving meal, go ahead and check out last week's video. I'll put a link down in the description. And as always, guys, until next time, peace.